While it may not be in the limelight like some rivals, we've got compelling reasons to believe that advanced micro devices is gearing up for a potential 50% surge by the end of 2024. Let's talk about it. We're talking about advanced micro devices today, and it seems that AMD may not be getting as much attention as some of these other semiconductor stocks, which, by the way, we have discussed semiconductors on this channel previously, so don't forget to go back and watch some of our analysis on those. But there are multiple factors suggesting that there's a promising outlook for 2024, and we could potentially see a slight increase in value by year end here. So we're talking 50%. So that's certainly significant. So let's dive into that right now. What really are those major factors that's contributing to this potential growth?
Yeah, so right now I'm seeing like two, maybe three underpinning themes for AMD. The first is end market normalization. The whole semiconductor industry experienced an inventory glut that is only just now coming back into alignment that spans memory, computing, PCs, devices, totally includes AMD. So the semiconductor industry is forecasting about a 15% industry-wide growth this year, 2024, led by AI. And so that's the second theme. AI is huge. NVIDIA is obviously the leader. There's no doubt about that, but it can't keep up with demand. That leaves room for AMD to gain market share, and they're already the number 2 player in data centers. So in between those two things is AI at the edge. That's AI in your computers and your devices. So AMD is also working hard to bring AI to the edge with its Ryzen chip line, and it's making some pretty big strides in that development. So that plays again into the end market normalization and a secular grade multi-year upcycle that could last, 5 years or more as AI advances or become embedded into our devices.
Okay, let's talk about the competition a little bit here. How does AMD's revenue growth forecast and other significant factors for 2024 compare to NVIDIA? So what's contributing to these differences, and how is this an opportunity for AMD to gain market share?
Well, so I think the growth forecast is ridiculously low. It's only 17% right now, which is only a few hundred basis points above the industry-wide forecast. And this is compared to triple-digit growth for NVIDIA, who was the AI leader. I think that AMD could easily see an NVIDIA-like year as far as AI goes. AMD isn't NVIDIA, but it will benefit from that demand and NVIDIA's inability to keep up with the demand. So yeah, that's my take.
Yeah, and I think investors here are really going to be focusing on how well AMD can compete with NVIDIA on price. I've been hearing that the MI300 has been coming in with the price that's significantly lower than NVIDIA. If that's the case, then AMD may be that forecast that Thomas is talking about may very well be very conservative.
Mm-hmm. That's a great point that Chris made. I was just checking up on that before we started, and it looks like the MI300s are running about 20 grand as a starting base price, which is like 30% lower than the H100. So that's a significantly huge, that's a huge cost difference.
All right, well, speaking of opportunities here, can you provide us a little bit more details about AMD's upcoming MI300 line and its potential impact on the market?
So the MI300 is a competitive chip. It's meant to compete with H100s, and they do offer some advantages. They've got some better processing speeds and better memory, but the real difference is the software layer. NVIDIA's been building its software layer for almost a decade, and that's what allows all these AI companies to really use the chips and really get the most out of them. AMD is catching up, but it is the software that makes them work. But regardless of that, numerous players have said that they're going to offer the AMD chips, even if it's only for choice, and many other players have said that they want the choice.
Yeah, one of the things that's happening with this chip is that AMD is entering the generative AI space in a big way. And I think this is a real good lesson for investors that you don't necessarily have to be the first in the space. And if you come in late and you do it well, there's still room at the party for you, especially in AI, because as Thomas was saying, demand is just exceeding the ability of NVIDIA to keep up with it. So there is an opportunity here, even though AMD would be considered late in the space.
Okay, and there's already some major companies that are on board to support this series, right? So does that imply that sales should be significant?
I think sales are going to boom this year. Right now, we've got Lenovo, Microsoft, Dell, Meta, many others saying that they're going to use these chips. CEO Lisa Su thinks that the MI300 will bring in 2 billion this year, but I think that's a very low figure. I just saw one of the most recent analyst reports talking about $4 billion, which may also be a low figure. You got to remember that Nvidia is estimated to have made 37.5 billion off the H100 last year alone. So there's a chance that AMD sales could reach the 6, 7, $8 billion levels. Maybe not this year, but next year for sure.
Yeah, I agree with Thomas. I think the numbers that AMD is forecasting are conservative, and we all know that there's a game that some of these companies play in terms of they try to lowball so they can easily beat it. I don't think that's what AMD is doing here, but I do think that in 2024, especially as it relates to AI, companies don't want to miss their forecast. So I think you're seeing a number that's going to be conservative. It's a number that they believe they can hit and probably beat, but I think it's good that they're throwing out there a number that's probably conservative.
Okay, so what about the potential risk factor of manufacturing here? We know that both NVIDIA and AMD rely heavily on Taiwan semiconductor manufacturing for all their advanced AI chip manufacturing. And they've already stated that it's going to be well into 2025 before they can catch up with AI demand. So there's that hurdle. Is AMD doing anything, though, to mitigate this risk?
Well, AMD has already mitigated that risk to some extent. I mean, it does rely on Taiwan semiconductors almost as much as NVIDIA, but NVIDIA relies on it just that much more to complete all of their advanced packaging processes. So AMD has been using a company called Tongfu Microelectronics for years. They do a lot of that advanced packaging. They've been taking on more and more responsibilities over the last year or two. They're already known to be testing the MI300s. So we can expect that to be, less of a problem for AMD than NVIDIA. And in this case, it might be all it takes for AMD to get its chips to market just a little bit faster and gain that edge.
Yeah, there's something else that investors should be watching pretty closely. So we're all familiar with the CHIPS Act, which is it's the legislation that was proposed by the U.S. Congress, passed by the U.S. Congress, I should say, that's rewarding semiconductor companies for bringing their chip manufacturing into the United States. And AMD's invested about $20 billion to do that. They're trying to open up 2 facilities. One is rumored to be in New York. I don't remember where the other one is scheduled to be. They're trying to do this, however, at a time when they're trying to kind of reduce their cost of manufacturing, so to speak. So this is a little bit more of a books and numbers game. It's not really affecting the company's operations per se, but it's just something to watch because it is an investment that they're making. And I'm not sure, when those plants are supposed to be up and running, but it is something that's going to be a cost to them.
Yeah, it'll still be a few quarters, year or two
Yeah.
before some of these new foundries get up and running. That's really a story, I think, for next year and the year after, but could be a significant factor in the long-term direction of the stock price.
All right, Thomas, talk to our viewers a little bit more here about AMD's technical outlook, their potential for upside, and any other takeaways that we need to hold on to.
Right. So coincidentally, the very day that I wrote the article this video is based on, the stock surged more than 5% and set a new all-time high. So the rally and the technical setup suggest a solid 30 to 50% upside, and that is echoed by the analyst sentiment. The take here is that AMD looks like it will make a run for the 300 level, and it may surpass that level as the year progresses. That's assuming that the results come in as I think they might.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm willing to go all the way up to 300. That seems like a bold call, but I agree with Thomas. AMD's forecasting earnings growth about 50% this year. I just noticed before we came on to tape that I think it was Barclays came out with a $200 price target just yesterday. KeyBank came in around 196. So the analysts are starting to bid up the price. Now it just depends on, you know, if AMD can deliver the earnings to justify those.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really looking at Nvidia's last year and thinking that AMD is going to have a very similar year with growth, outperformance,
Yeah.
beating its guidance, raising its guidance, and having the analysts persistently raise their estimates as the year goes on.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. There were some great insights here for advanced micro devices and its potential for growth in 2024. Thank you for joining us today at MarketBeat. Don't forget to check out the other videos and resources we have for you right here on this channel. We'll see you in the next one.